Who and why? We're going to go over some charts later in the presentation, but for sake of this portion, let's just talk about some of the major industries that are targeted. In the United States, healthcare, manufacturing, and financial services are the top three industries that receive cyber threats. Why these industries is due to the personal data that they hold, the intellectual property, and the physical inventory, and the massive financial assets. So again, those three areas, healthcare, manufacturing, financial services, are your top three industries. So focus on the right assets. I like to call those the crown jewels. Identify the most valuable systems and data and then give them the strongest defense. If you know that your intellectual property is the most valuable thing that you have there, your schematics, the things your engineers have been working on, we need to make sure that those are the safest. If you're a financial institution and you know that your financial records are the most important thing, we need to put defenses around them. If you're a hospital or healthcare industry, we need to put our defenses around people's personal information like this Social Security number or their insurance number. Apply deep analytics. We all know that humans are creatures of habit. They come to work at the same time and do familiar tasks. The same can be said for how they use and interact with technology. Deep analytics can make it much easier to spot indications that systems have been compromised. Know your people. Addressing the security risks that these people represent should be a priority. So you need to monitor IT administrators, monitor top executives, and monitor your key vendors. But don't forget the basics. In security, we love the newest tools. Applying software patches automatically closes that open window before a hacker can use it to assess your network. I want to pause here. Applying software patches automatically closes that window. Many times as small and medium enterprises, when we buy new laptops for our employees, they automatically come with that 1-year free subscription for your antivirus software. And if you're a small to medium company, many times after that first year, you don't make those updates. So we want to make sure that as these patches come through and as you're linked online and you're doing things, that these things are updated. That can be your biggest line of defense sometimes as new cyber threats are developed every day. Enforcing strong standards for user identity and passwords means stealing credentials is much harder. We all know these rules, but let's just go over a few of them. Number 1, set a policy in place where passwords are changed every 6 weeks or every 90 days. Set a password policy in place that requires at least 12 to 24 characters, no real words, upper and lower case letters, special symbols, and numbers. Lastly, collect all the data and forensics you can on every device that touches your network. If you allow individuals to use their cell phones, if you allow individuals to use tablets, if we're allowing individuals to use our laptops, especially if they're from home, you need to know what those devices collect, what is downloaded, what is uploaded. So again, we want you to collect all the data and the forensics you can, that you possibly can, without doing anything to your personal business on every device that possibly touches your network. So what are some things that you can do to protect yourself? At this moment, we're going to take some time to talk about some strategies that you can employ when you're online. It's a good rule of thumb to use two-factor authentication when accessing email or apps, especially on mobile tablets and on cell phones. What is two-factor authentication, you might ask? This is when you employ a strategy that before you access any network, whether it be email, whether it be a banking application, that you have a code sent to either another email address or have a code sent to a landline or another cell phone. That way, the only way you can access that application is by using the code that's sent to you. This way, in the event that someone steals your cell phone and they try to access a banking app, they try to access an email application on a tablet or on a cell phone, the computer automatically knows to send a code to another device, and that code has to be put in before an individual can actually access that application on that phone. So two-factor authentication is real. It's when you use a password and then an additional password that's sent to you. We've already gone over this portion, but maintain updates on antivirus software. New threats are created every day, new patches are created every day, but in the event your antivirus software has laxed, you won't have access to those patches. Utilize your mobile device's screen lock features. There's so many out there now. They have fingerprints, there's facial recognition, there are codes, there are numbers, there are letters. Utilizing your mobile screen lock and device features will keep individuals from being able to break into phones or make it less likely that they're able to break into phones. There used to be a rule of thumb that said turn off your geolocation software. I always like to tell people, use your best judgment. Individuals like to have geolocation software on their phones because in the event they use their phones, they're able to track them down. The flip side is if you have your geolocation software on and you log into many of our current social media applications, what you have basically done when you make any updates is let individuals know exactly where you are. And if you're at lunch, or if you're out for dinner, or especially if you're just not at home or not at your desk, you've now let a cyber criminal know that there's a laptop at your home at your desk and you're not in front of it. So again, use your best judgment. Some people like to turn off geolocation software. Some people like to keep it on. Wi-Fi. Limit your public Wi-Fi use to surfing only. We don't need anyone making any major financial transactions or any major bank deals or sending any intellectual property or any schematics across a public Wi-Fi network. And as soon as you get into the restaurant, best rule of thumb is to ask an associate about what is the correct Wi-Fi network. We're going to go through a scenario right now. I like to call this one man in the middle. So we have a coffee shop or a hotel lobby scenario. Many times as a small or medium business enterprise, you might stop in a local coffee shop that has Wi-Fi access or go into a hotel lobby in between a conference just to get a little bit of work done. What you think happens is you, the user, access the router that then accesses the internet, and then information comes back through the internet, through the router, to you, the user. But many times in those spaces, we have individuals that we call the man in the middle. The man in the middle actually has a twin router. So you might see a router that's called coffee shop guest. And because you're in the coffee shop, you assume this is, of course, the Wi-Fi network for the coffee shop. Or you might see a Wi-Fi network that says hotel lobby guest, and you assume this is the hotel lobby guest access. But what actually happens is you, the user, access the twin router, which goes through the identity thief and then accesses the internet. And anything that comes off the internet before going back to you has to go through the identity thief's computer and through the twin router. Again, the man in the middle grabs, modifies data that is sent or received. So at all costs, if you can, before you link up to any Wi-Fi network, go up to an associate and ask, what is the name of your Wi-Fi network for this space? Good rule of thumb, also remember that doesn't mean that there's any added protection on this Wi-Fi network. No, the account that they have is probably no different from the account that you have at home. It's just a commercial account. It is somewhat safer based on the fact that at least you know that this is the network that this establishment holds.